You're listening to Radio 1 International, the place where pop culture meets global conversations and where one celebrity statement can blow up into a worldwide debate. And today's story? It's about none other than Snoop Dogg, hip-hop legend, cultural icon, and someone who has never been afraid of speaking his mind. But this time, what he said about LGBTQ representation in cinema has landed him in the middle of a firestorm. So here's what happened. In a recent podcast chat, Snoop was asked about the rising trend of LGBTQ stories and characters in films and shows. Instead of a diplomatic answer, he went full Snoop mode. He said he didn't understand why there's so much focus on lesbians in cinema. He questioned whether Hollywood was forcing representation and even threw in a half-joke, half-dismissive line about not being able to explain those characters to younger audiences. Now, if you've followed pop culture for even a week, you know what happens next. Screenshots spread like wildfire, Twitter threads started, TikToks were stitched, and suddenly Snoop Dogg wasn't just the guy who gave us "drop it like it's hot." He was now trending as the guy who couldn't drop an explanation about lesbians. The backlash was swift, sharp, and global. And of course, the internet never forgets receipts. Within hours, critics dug up Snoop's past controversies. They pointed out how he once faced serious charges, including murder charges back in the 90s, which he was later acquitted of. They highlighted his long history with violent, misogynistic lyrics. And now, here he was, a man with that past, acting puzzled about LGBTQ visibility in cinema. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Snoop had murder charges, but somehow lesbians confuse him? The outrage wasn't just about what he said, it was about the timing, the tone, and the dismissiveness. Because LGBTQ representation in film isn't just some trend. It's a hard-won space, built through decades of struggle. For years, queer characters were erased, sidelined, or stereotyped in cinema. And now, when Hollywood is finally making space for stories about love, identity, and inclusivity, having a major cultural figure dismiss it as too much focus feels tone-deaf. But let's flip the coin for a second. Some fans defended Snoop, saying he's old school, he comes from a different era of hip-hop, and maybe he just doesn't get it. They argued that he wasn't attacking LGBTQ people, he was just expressing confusion about Hollywood trends. But the thing is, in 2025, confusion doesn't stay private. When you're Snoop Dogg, every statement echoes. And even casual comments can sound like dismissals to entire communities. And here's where it gets more complicated, because hip-hop as a culture has always had a tricky relationship with LGBTQ representation. For years, rap lyrics were filled with homophobia. Many artists from the 90s and early 2000s openly used slurs that today would be career-ending.
But times have changed.
Now we have artists like Lil Nas X, Young M.A, Tyler the Creator, openly queer artists who are redefining hip-hop from the inside. The culture is shifting, which makes Snoop's comment feel even more out of touch with where the industry is heading. Now, let's zoom out globally. Representation in film isn't just an American conversation. In countries like India, LGBTQ films are still fighting for visibility against censorship. In parts of Africa and the Middle East, such films face outright bans. Even in Hollywood, there's a long history of queer-baiting, token characters, and invisibility. So when icons like Snoop dismiss the progress, it doesn't just spark outrage, it stings because it echoes decades of erasure. And social media amplified it tenfold. On TikTok, queer creators stitched his interview with reactions ranging from disappointed sighs to comedic roasts. One creator said, "Snoop can explain murder, weed, gang life, but can't explain lesbians? Sir, it's two women in love, not rocket science." Another meme showed Snoop holding his trademark blunt with the caption, "This explains more than lesbians ever could." The internet turned it into satire, but the pain behind the laughter was real. Interestingly, some Hollywood insiders chimed in too. Filmmakers and actors spoke out, saying representation is not about comfort, it's about truth. Actress Laverne Cox posted that dismissing queer stories means dismissing real lives. Director Ava DuVernay reminded everyone that cinema should reflect humanity in all its diversity. And just like that, Snoop's throwaway comments became the center of a global cultural debate. Now, will this hurt Snoop's legacy? Probably not in a major way. He's too iconic, too embedded in music history to be canceled. But what it does show is how the cultural conversation has shifted. In the 90s, comments like these might have passed unnoticed. In 2025, they spark think pieces, protests, memes, and TikToks all in one day. That's the power of social media and the progress of queer visibility. And maybe that's the lesson here. Celebrities today don't just perform, they participate in global conversations. If they dismiss representation, people will push back. If they embrace it, they'll be celebrated. And whether Snoop likes it or not, the world he shaped with his music is no longer the same world he's speaking into. It's louder, more inclusive, and way less forgiving of casual dismissals. And this isn't just an American issue. Around the world, LGBTQ cinema is still under pressure. In India, films like Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdan tried to normalize gay love stories, but they still face censorship and mixed reactions. In countries across Africa and the Middle East, queer films are banned outright. Even in Europe, despite progress, conservative backlash still happens. So representation on screen isn't just entertainment, it's activism. It's survival. The memes went viral, but they carried a sharp undertone that celebrities in 2025 can't casually dismiss marginalized groups anymore. Every word is amplified, dissected, memed, and debated. That's the reality of the social media age. Now, will this destroy Snoop Dogg's career? Absolutely not. He's too big, too legendary, too ingrained in pop culture. But it does leave a mark. It shows that no matter how iconic you are, you're not immune to cultural shifts. You can't stand outside of the conversation anymore. And in some ways, that's progress. Because it means marginalized voices have the power to hold even legends accountable. And maybe that's the takeaway. Snoop may not understand why Hollywood is focusing on lesbians, but the truth is, it's not about him. Representation isn't for the people who already have visibility. It's for the ones who were denied it for decades. And their stories are not only valid, they're necessary. So, as the memes keep rolling and as the debate rages on, one thing is clear. Love will always find its way to the big screen. Whether Snoop Dogg gets it or not, LGBTQ cinema isn't going anywhere. If anything, this controversy proves why it's more important than ever. And when icons like Snoop mock or dismiss it, it can feel like setting the clock backwards. So, where does that leave us? Well, Snoop Dogg may not understand lesbians in cinema, but the rest of the world is making sure their stories are told anyway. Until then, the memes will keep rolling, the debates will keep raging, and Radio 1 International will keep bringing you the stories where pop culture collides with global reality.